personal question to start off. I think in nearly every text that I've written about you for the festival, I think there's a quote that's snuck in, which is that hope is not something I deal with. However, this film, I think, ends with what's for me a very open look from Leni at Anton, and the whole world in the background. It's very open. And so I want to ask you, if you don't deal in hope, what is it that you deal with?
This sentence we were just talking about was part of an interview I gave many years ago in London. And you know, like journalists are, so I took it as a headline for this interview, and now again and again it is used. So I think it's important to explain in which relation this the sentence was. I believe what I said, so I'm not dealing with hope for sure. But I think the journalist was asking me that the films are so hopeless and there's no hope in the movies, and why is there no hope? And I told them that it's not, and I believe that it's generally not the idea of art or to give hope. So if you, it's not a marketplace for selling hope or for giving people some hope. I think it's a question of everybody else. It's a very individual question. If you find some hope, or if you need hope, or if your life is dominated by hope or whatever. So I think it's a completely wrong idea, and it stresses the art and the artist to expect that he gives hope. I think a film doesn't have to give hope. A film can describe something, a film can be a vision about something, can tell something about how you maybe experience life, or it can tell a story, whatever. But I think the cinema is not the right place to go in and to get hope and to go out. And then you have hope, and you can take it home, and you are happy. So I think that would be the wrong idea about cinema at all. And I also think that hope is a very difficult. It's a difficult topic because it's used very much, and we are surrounded by an ideology of hope. So everybody expects that something's hopeful, and we are surrounded by TV shows which have to give you hope, and everybody has to be happy. But I think, and also in ideologies and in certain kind of political systems, they are dealing with hope and try to make the people calm, because hoping that it will get better soon. So I think hope is a very dangerous thing also, because the question is what to hope for. So I think it's I would rather prefer to replace the word hope maybe with the word vision, to have a vision and to fight for it. You cannot fight for hope. You just sit and wait and hope. It's a very passive idea, and that's why I'm not a big fan of this ideology of hope. And I think we should replace the idea of hope with the idea of a vision, of a different kind of life maybe, or of changing something. If we have the feeling that we need hope, it's better to understand what should be changed and to do it, to try, not just to be passive and waiting and hoping that somehow it will get better.
I always have to ask, what is it for you, the look in Leni's eyes at the end? Is it just an opening, or could it be anything?
I mean, it would be completely stupid of my side to interpret now the ending. I think it's obvious that they both come back, they both survived, and I think they have a chance. There is a possibility. The film ends with a possibility, with an open door, and not with a closed door. It's up to them what they do with this possibility. Like it is up to us.
Sorry, I would like to ask you about your relationship to violence and to aggression.
my relation to violence, I think I'm not a very violent person, and I very rarely kill somebody. But I think violence, for sure violence is a phenomenon. We are surrounded by violence, and we are living in very violent societies. And violence is, it's a way of, it's a kind of communication. And for example, in this movie, the violence is maybe, or violence is, or in other films I did, violence is the last way, of when all the other communications don't work, when the words don't work anymore, or when your pain is so strong, so big, that you have no words anymore. When you have no voice, then people decide to be violent. For example, I remember some sentences of the German terrorists from the 70s, when they found out that all their words don't matter anymore, when they cannot change anything with their words, written or told, and the only possibility for them in this moment was to be violent, to make yourself be heard. So violence, I think, it's an ultimate last attempt to be heard or to have a voice. It's a very desperate way of communication, and for sure it doesn't lead to anything but violence. But I think the phenomena is obviously existing in the world which is violent. And the violence, I think, starts inside. So, and it can be created also by not being heard, by not being, to have no other way to articulate yourself. You have that also when you observe children. Children sometimes get violent if they don't see any other possibility to articulate their needs. But I think we live in very violent societies. So the whole capitalist idea is a very violent idea, because it's based on profit and it is based on exploitation. So it's a violent, very destructive idea behind. So our whole societies are based on violent ideas. Yeah.
Could you say a bit about, now you're talking about visions and so on, could you talk a bit about the cinematography, I mean the whole visual element. What were your vision with this film in terms of cinematography and the way you dealt with that in this particular film? Der er ikke åbent nu,
I can talk about, for example, the use of the way the film is edited. The film was shot with two cameras simultaneously. It was a film camera, it was a video camera, and the film camera was doing all the plant sequences, the long shots, and was a dolly, and the video camera was handheld, and shooting from the same angle like the film camera. So I was operating the film camera, and another person was operating the video camera, and the person was very close to my camera, always shooting from my angle. And in every take we did, I told him before to concentrate on a different detail. So maybe in the first take of the same scene, he was shooting just the face of the man. In the second take, same scene, just the woman. Third take, just the hands, and so on, details. And this was something like the rule of the game we did. And later in the editing, I was, as you have seen, cutting these video images into the long sequences, into the traveling shots with a dolly, because I wanted to make every cut very visible, not to have elegant editing, not to hide the editing, but every cut should be a cut, like a cut in the skin, or like a stone which which flies through a window and breaks it. So every cut here somehow breaks the movement and breaks the one shot. And And also the decision for video and film was to make a most possible difference of the texture. So if I would have done this with 2 film cameras, the difference would not have been big enough for me. But the video camera and then transferred to film was more grainy, and you see it's a different kind of even a little deformation of the picture, of the proportions, to make it most visible and most different.
This deformation was. Are you familiar with the software? Is it in any way linked?
No, but the idea was that because always when there's a cut and when I go to the image of the video camera, yeah, I'm going close.
Yeah.
And I believe that when we go close to something, this something doesn't stay the same. It's an illusion, I think, to believe if we come close to something, it's the same, just closer. When we come close to it, it changes, because just the fact that we come close makes a difference. So it's not the same. If you are close, for example, as close as the camera can be to a person, you are rarely to a person in life. So when you come close to a person like this, it does something, it has a meaning. So only to maybe people we love or people we hate, when we, for example, kill them with a knife, we have to go very close. So to be close to the normal distance we have to people, when we break this, it means immediately a change. And also when you go close, for example, to a skin, suddenly you see the pores, or you see the texture of a wall, which you don't see when you are distant. So I wanted that the moment when I cut to the closer image, it's not only closer, it's also a different texture, it's a different image. And the basic idea why I used this way of editing, because in the films before I did not edit at all, it was just traveling shots. And the idea was to find a possibility to transform or to bring the way we normally use our eyes to the screen, to find a way to adapt the way of watching. And what we do permanently in our life is to jump to close-ups and back, not with our eye because we have no zoom in our eyes, but we do it by concentration. So I can, when I'm standing here, I can watch a face, I can watch even a whole group of people, but I can concentrate on a detail. I can jump to a mouth, to a pair of eyes, and I jump back. So what we permanently do every day, hundreds of times, is watching a space more total and going to details. Forth and back, forth and back. And we don't change the angle because we are in our position. We just concentrate. And that was the idea behind for the editing and for the whole, let's say, visual game I tried for the film.
We need to call it now.
Shall we continue outside? If anyone has any questions and would like to talk more, we'll go out that way.
Okay. Thank you very much.